The unpredictable nature of the entertainment industry has always been a subject of fascination for audiences worldwide, as the glamour of Hollywood often masks the intense volatility that defines the careers of its most prominent figures. For decades, the public has watched artists ascend from complete obscurity to the heights of global fame, assuming that once a certain level of recognition is achieved, financial security and professional stability are guaranteed for a lifetime. However, the reality behind the silver screen is far more complex, governed by shifting corporate strategies, evolving audience demands, and broader institutional changes that can instantly reshape the landscape for performers. When an actor captures the cultural zeitgeist, their sudden rise is frequently accompanied by an immense sense of responsibility, not just to maintain their own momentum, but to utilize their platform for a larger purpose. This intricate balance between personal survival, professional ambition, and public advocacy forms the backbone of modern celebrity culture, where the stakes are elevated and every major cultural shift can ripple through an artist's career in unexpected ways. To truly understand how deeply these systemic transformations impact the individuals who occupy the spotlight, it is essential to examine the underlying mechanisms of the entertainment business, where opportunities can materialize overnight and vanish just as quickly. If you want to stay informed about these deep dives into the hidden dynamics of Hollywood and the real stories behind the headlines, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications for all our latest updates. The journey of a public figure is rarely a straight line, and the forces that propel someone to stardom are often the very same forces that require them to constantly adapt to an ever-changing environment. Long before any major accolades or red carpet appearances, the foundation of a creative career is built on resilience, sacrifice, and the enduring hope that a single breakthrough moment will change everything. For many years, they operated under traditional frameworks where success was measured strictly by box office numbers, television ratings, and the sheer volume of roles an actor could secure through traditional audition processes. In this hyper-competitive ecosystem, the vast majority of performers struggle to find consistent work, often navigating years of financial uncertainty, accumulating debt, and balancing multiple jobs just to sustain their artistic dreams. The financial precarity of the acting profession is a well-documented phenomenon, yet it remains a stark reality that even the most talented individuals must face before they ever receive widespread public acknowledgement. This period of struggle is not merely a prelude to success, but a defining phase that shapes an artist's perspective on security, community, and the true value of professional longevity. When a transformative project finally emerges, it does not just offer financial relief, it alters the trajectory of an entire career, transforming an individual from a struggling artist into a symbol of broader representation and cultural progress. The sudden influx of attention, while exhilarating, brings a unique set of challenges, as the individual must navigate a sudden transition from anonymity to intense public scrutiny. In the modern media landscape, this transition is further complicated by the expectations placed on public figures to represent communities that have historically been marginalized or excluded from mainstream narratives. As audiences look closer at the mechanism that dictate which stories get told and which performers get cast, the broader corporate structure of the entertainment world becomes a central focal point of discussion. For a time, the industry experienced a significant shift toward expanding the scope of its programming, opening doors for diverse narratives and creating dedicated initiatives designed to foster inclusion across various platforms. These corporate programs were seen by many as a permanent evolution in how media companies approach storytelling, talent acquisition, and community engagement. Major studios, television networks, and streaming giants established comprehensive frameworks aimed at diversifying their rosters, investing heavily in projects that highlighted unique perspectives and funding public speaking tours that brought these ideas directly to audiences across the country. Academic institutions, corporations, and media entities eagerly sought out influential voices to share their journeys, creating a thriving network of speaking engagements, branding partnerships, and creative opportunities that sustained public figures outside of traditional acting roles. This diversification of income streams became crucial for artists who understood that the longevity of a television series or film franchise is never guaranteed, allowing them to build a stable foundation while simultaneously dedicating time to philanthropic and educational endeavors. The reliance on these alternative avenues of engagement highlights the interconnectedness of celebrity advocacy and corporate institutional support, showing how deeply intertwined modern stardom has become with the broader corporate initiatives of the era. However, the stability of these frameworks is inherently tied to the shifting priorities of the entities that fund them, making them vulnerable to broader external influences and changing institutional directions. When the prevailing climate begins to shift, the immediate impact is often felt most acutely by those whose careers became closely aligned with these specialized initiatives. The sudden scaling back of corporate programs can catch even established figures off guard, demonstrating that no level of past success or critical acclaim can completely shield a performer from the practical realities of institutional reorganization. The sudden contraction of opportunities in areas that were once considered reliable sources of professional engagement serves as a powerful reminder of the delicate equilibrium that governs the entertainment economy. As corporate entities reevaluate their long-term strategies and adjust their internal structures, the ripple effects extend far beyond executive boardrooms, directly affecting the livelihood, financial planning, and public outreach of prominent figures who have dedicated their platforms to driving cultural conversations. This intricate interplay between industry trends, corporate backing, and personal financial security sets the stage for a deeper exploration of how a prominent cultural icon navigates a sudden and profound shift in their professional trajectory, illustrating the profound vulnerability that coexists with modern celebrity. The shifting corporate landscape in Hollywood has recently sent shockwaves through the entire creative community, bringing to light the deep vulnerabilities of those who once felt secure in their hard-won success. At the center of this developing situation is Laverne Cox, the groundbreaking 54-year-old Emmy-winning actress and advocate who has openly shared the severe negative impact that recent institutional changes have had on her life and career. For Cox, the sudden transformation of the industry has resulted in a devastating loss of career opportunities and a significant financial drain over the past 12 months. The core of this issue stems from an ongoing widespread scrubbing of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives commonly known as DEI programs across major entertainment studios, media conglomerates, and corporate entities. Since the beginning of the second administration of President Donald Trump in early 2025, the political and executive stance against these initiatives has intensified dramatically, creating an environment where corporations have become increasingly fearful of facing punitive measures. Cox, who rose to international fame in 2013 with her defining role on the hit Netflix series Orange is the New Black, recently broke her silence in a candid cover story for Attitude magazine, laying bare the harsh economic realities she is currently confronting. In her deeply personal revelation, Cox admitted that she has lost an immense amount of money because of the current administration's policies, forcing her to make decisions she never anticipated having to make at this stage of her career. For years, Cox managed to maintain a highly active and lucrative schedule by balancing her traditional acting roles with lucrative branding partnerships and an extensive network of public speaking engagements at universities and corporate events across the United States. These college speaking gigs, which long served as a vital financial pillar and a direct way to connect with younger generations, have unexpectedly and completely dried up as educational institutions and corporate boards rapidly dismantle their diversity frameworks to avoid political scrutiny. The sudden disappearance of these avenues has left Cox in a position where she has been forced to repeatedly dip into her personal savings and her retirement fund over the last 2 years just to sustain herself and maintain her ongoing public initiatives. While Cox acknowledges the inherent blessing and privilege of actually possessing a retirement fund to draw from in times of crisis, she emphasizes that doing so is a deeply stressful and counterintuitive measure for anyone trying to secure their long-term future. This current financial and professional crisis stands in stark contrast to the immense triumph of her initial breakthrough, a moment in cultural history that many assumed would guarantee her permanent stability. When Orange is the New Black debuted in 2013, it became an instant global phenomenon, thrusting Cox into an intense media spotlight as one of the most visible faces of a historic cultural shift. Yet, even during that period of meteoric rise, Cox harbored deep-seated anxieties about the fleeting nature of Hollywood success and the precarious world of television production. She recalls that during the height of the show's popularity, she truly did not know how long that magical moment would last, nor could she predict the long-term viability of the success she was experiencing. Before securing the role of Sophia Bursett on the critically acclaimed Netflix series, Cox had spent decades navigating the punishing trenches of New York City's independent creative scene, a period marked by severe financial hardship. The absence of any personal savings, a complete lack of a retirement fund, and the heavy burden of mounting student loan debt. The memory of working tirelessly just to climb out of that deep financial hole while simultaneously dedicating her limited energy to lifting up her marginalized community has remained a defining influence on her worldview. The sudden arrival of mainstream success offered a temporary respite from that financial anxiety, but it also imposed a massive responsibility as she transitioned into a global representative for transgender individuals. Her efforts to humanize transgender people and highlight their unique daily experiences became a central focus of her life's work, a mission she pursued through continuous public speaking tours and her writing. This month, her deeply anticipated memoir, Transcendent, hit bookstore shelves nationwide, a publication that was intended to celebrate her journey and reinforce her advocacy, but which has instead launched during one of the most turbulent periods for corporate diversity initiatives in modern history. The entertainment industry's rapid retreat from DEI programs has revealed a pervasive culture of fear among studio executives and corporate leaders, who view the current administration's rhetoric as an active threat to their business models. According to Cox, multiple prominent entertainment studios and major media companies have completely shut down their dedicated diversity offices, canceled inclusive programming, and severed ties with figures closely associated with social advocacy. This widespread corporate retreat is driven by the perception that the administration is highly punitive toward any entity that promotes diversity concepts or gender ideology, leading corporations to preemptively scrub these elements from their public profiles to protect their bottom lines. The tension within the creative community has reached a boiling point as artists watch opportunities that took decades to build vanish in a matter of months, leaving many to wonder about the future of representation in media. For Cox, this current wave of institutional pushback is part of a larger ongoing struggle against the erosion of hard-won social progress, a pattern she has been actively calling out for years. This is far from the first time the Emmy-winning star has voiced her profound disappointment in the prevailing political and cultural rhetoric surrounding marginalized groups in America. Her current professional struggles are deeply connected to a long history of raising the alarm about the fragility of human rights and the critical importance of civic engagement. As the industry continues to contract and corporations distance themselves from inclusive initiatives, the broader cultural implications of this shift become increasingly clear, setting the stage for a deeper analysis of the societal forces at play and the long-term impact on the communities that rely on these platforms for visibility and safety. The current institutional dismantling of diversity frameworks across major American corporations represents a profound turning point that extends far beyond the financial challenges of a single Hollywood star, highlighting a systemic shift that threatens decades of hard-won cultural progress. To fully comprehend the gravity of the current situation, it is necessary to look back at the long timeline of advocacy that has defined Laverne Cox's public life, revealing that her current warnings are the continuation of a message she has been sharing for nearly a decade. Back in 2018, during the first presidential term of Donald Trump, Cox was already using her immense public platform to stress the vital importance of civic participation and the extreme fragility of social advancements. In a deeply resonant interview with Gay Times at that time, she reminded the public that the presidency had been decided by a mere 80,000 votes spread across 3 critical swing states, emphasizing that a relatively small group of individuals had effectively altered the course of history for millions of citizens. For Cox, this mathematical reality served as an ongoing wake-up call, demonstrating that because his opponent had won the popular vote, the collective power of individual citizens to turn out and make their voices heard remained the single most important tool for safeguarding basic human rights. Her prophetic words from nearly 8 years ago resonate with chilling accuracy today, as she warned back then that just because a community possesses specific protections and legal recognition in the present moment, it does not mean those rights cannot be systematically rolled back when the political landscape changes. This long-standing commitment to political awareness and community defense forms the foundation of her current struggle, proving that her anxieties regarding the rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are not a sudden reaction to personal loss, but rather the realization of a scenario she had long feared and predicted. The ongoing erasure of these corporate frameworks has created a chilling effect that directly impacts the visibility of marginalized groups, removing the institutional safety nets that allowed diverse talent to thrive in a historically exclusive industry. Beyond the corporate boardrooms and the cancellation of lucrative speaking tours, Cox's journey has always been fundamentally tied to the physical survival and human dignity of the most vulnerable members of her community. Throughout her career, she has consistently illuminated the devastating epidemic of violence that targets transgender women of color, framing this crisis not as an isolated issue, but as the deadly intersection of deeply entrenched racism, systemic sexism, and transmisogyny. In her extensive work to humanize these experiences, Cox has frequently pointed out that the lack of mainstream economic opportunities forces many individuals into survival sex work, an environment that exponentially increases their vulnerability to extreme violence and exploitation. Her advocacy has consistently sought to address the root causes of this violence, arguing that society has simply not achieved the profound cultural shift required to truly believe, understand, and accept that transgender women are women. This fundamental denial of humanity, she argues, is at the absolute heart of why so many individuals are targeted and murdered, making the sudden loss of media representation and educational platforms all the more dangerous. When major entertainment studios and educational institutions shut down their diversity programs, they are not just saving money or avoiding political controversy. They are actively dismantling the very tools that Cox and other advocates use to drive the cultural shift necessary to save lives. The release of her new memoir, Transcendent, was envisioned as a powerful instrument to advance this vital conversation, offering readers an intimate look at the immense resilience required to survive in a world that frequently refuses to acknowledge your existence. The book chronicles her remarkable trajectory from a childhood marked by isolation and confusion in Alabama, through the intense financial hardships of her early years in New York City, to becoming the first openly transgender person to be nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award in an acting category. Her journey is a testament to the power of authentic storytelling, yet the current corporate environment threatens to overshadow this milestone, as the platforms available for her to promote this message continue to shrink under the weight of political pressure. The broader implications of this corporate retreat are felt by an entire generation of emerging creators and advocates who looked to Cox as a beacon of what was possible within the mainstream media landscape. For decades, the fight for representation was focused on getting a foot in the door, but the current crisis demonstrates that holding that door open requires continuous, exhausting effort against an ever-shifting tide of institutional opposition. The financial strain that Cox is experiencing, which has forced her to draw from the retirement funds she worked so hard to build, serves as a stark warning to the entire creative community that no individual is entirely immune to the chilling effects of institutional reorganization. As the entertainment industry continues to navigate this period of intense volatility, the stories that get told and the voices that get amplified will inevitably reflect the anxieties of the corporations that fund them. The loss of university speaking engagements is particularly damaging, as these events provided a direct, unmediated space for education, empathy, and the dismantling of harmful stereotypes among the nation's youth. Without these vital forums, the task of fostering a more inclusive and understanding society becomes infinitely more difficult, relying entirely on the independent resilience of advocates who must fund their own initiatives. Despite these overwhelming challenges, Cox's enduring legacy remains rooted in her refusal to stay silent, using every available interview, publication, and public appearance to remind the world of the human lives hanging in the balance. The intersectional struggles she highlights, combining economic precarity, racial discrimination, and gender identity, demonstrate that the fight for diversity is not an abstract corporate policy, but a matter of fundamental survival for millions of people. As audiences witness this profound contraction within Hollywood and corporate America, the story of Laverne Cox stands as a powerful